Stop. Before you click away, answer this one question honestly. Have you ever looked in the mirror, not the bathroom mirror but the mirror inside your own mind, and seen something staring back at you that you didn't recognize? Something cold, something sharp, something that felt nothing like the kind, thoughtful, deeply empathetic person you work so hard to be every single day. And worse, did that reflection smile? If you're an INFJ with a high-functioning mind, there's a very good chance you know exactly what I'm describing. Because the smarter you are, the further you can see. And the further you can see, the harder it becomes to look away from what's lurking in your own depths. Carl Jung had a name for what's down there. He called it the shadow. And most people think intelligence is the thing that protects you from it. They're wrong. Dead wrong. Intelligence doesn't shield you from the shadow. It tears the curtain wide open. It forces a confrontation, a reckoning, whether you want one or not. Here's what nobody tells you. The INFJ's greatest strength, that razor-sharp, intuition-loaded, feeling-first mind, is also the very thing that drags the shadow out of hiding and drops it right in front of your face. And that moment of meeting? It changes everything. What we're about to unpack together is not surface-level content. This is the stuff that shifts the way you see yourself permanently. We're talking about Carl Jung, the nature of the shadow, why the INFJ psyche creates the perfect conditions for it to thrive, and why high intelligence isn't a defense, it's a detonator. By the time this ends, you won't just understand yourself better. You'll understand why you were always supposed to go through this. Let's go. The part of you nobody names. Most people walk through their entire lives carrying a version of themselves they've never met. Jung called it the shadow, but don't let the word fool you into thinking this is something exotic or rare. Every single human being has one. It's not the villain inside you. It's not some hidden evil waiting to take over. It's simpler and stranger than that. The shadow is every part of you that didn't make the cut. The anger you swallowed because expressing it felt dangerous. The ambition you buried because it felt arrogant. The jealousy you denied because admitting it felt shameful. The neediness you hid because vulnerability felt like weakness. None of that disappeared. It went underground. And down there in the dark it kept growing. Jung was precise about this. The shadow is 90% pure gold. Because it's not just your worst qualities sitting down there. It's your unlived life. Your suppressed genius. Your unfired boldness. The version of you that never got permission to exist. For most people, the shadow stays quiet. Life is loud enough that you can drown it out with work, with relationships, with screens, with routine. The shadow knocks occasionally, a flash of irrational jealousy, a burst of unexpected rage, a craving you can't explain, and most people just change the subject. But the INFJ can't do that. And when you add high intelligence to the equation, the option to look away disappears almost entirely. The question is, why? Wired for the underground. To understand why intelligence accelerates shadow confrontation in the INFJ, you have to understand how the INFJ mind is built at its foundation. The INFJ's dominant cognitive function is introverted intuition, NI. Unlike most functions which process information from the outside world, introverted intuition draws its power from the unconscious. It works beneath the surface. It synthesizes patterns from depths the conscious mind can't directly access. It's the function that gives INFJs their uncanny ability to read a situation, predict an outcome, or understand a person at a level that defies rational explanation. They just sense things. They know what's beneath the surface before anyone says a word. Their second function is extrovert feeling, FE. This is their interpersonal superpower. FE makes INFJs deeply attuned to the emotional atmosphere in any room, drives their desire to create harmony, and fuels their sometimes overwhelming empathy. An INFJ can walk into a gathering and know within minutes who's hurting, who's pretending, and who needs what. Here's where the beautiful trap comes in. INFJs, with their strong FE, are intensely motivated to maintain harmony, to be seen as kind and caring, to meet the emotional needs of the people around them. And their strong moral compass drives them to be good. Not just to do good things, but to actually be a good person at an identity level. That combination is extraordinary. But it also creates a very specific psychological trap. Because when you're deeply committed to being harmonious, empathetic, and morally upright, what do you do with the rage? The jealousy? The desire for dominance? The resentment that builds when you give endlessly and receive very little in return? You bury it. You tell yourself you don't feel those things, that they're not who you are. And so, piece by piece, you hand those feelings over to the shadow. And the shadow gets very, very large. When intelligence pulls the pin. Now we get to the part that changes everything. High intelligence, in this context, isn't just about academic ability. It's about depth of processing. the speed and relentlessness with which a mind examines, questions, connects, and deconstructs. For the INFJ, this shows up as psychological penetration, an almost involuntary ability to see through the surface of things, including the surface of themselves. A person with average self-awareness can maintain comfortable illusions about who they are for a very long time. They can feel occasional guilt about their behavior and move on without examining it too closely. The shadow stays manageable, largely out of sight because the mind doesn't press hard enough or long enough to actually disturb it. A highly intelligent INFJ doesn't get that luxury. Their mind is always pressing, always questioning, always noticing the gap between the story they're telling about themselves and the reality of what they actually feel, want, and do in their darkest, most unguarded moments. That internal gap cannot be easily ignored. It senses the inconsistency. It keeps returning. It refuses to let the comfortable illusion settle. Intelligence, in this sense, is like a high-powered floodlight aimed directly at the room you've been trying to keep dark. You didn't ask for it. You didn't turn it on intentionally. But once it's on, you can't pretend you didn't see what it revealed. Jung's most haunting observation was this: the brighter the light, the darker the shadow it casts. The more conscious you become, the more starkly you see the contrast between who you present yourself as and who you actually are underneath. For the INFJ with high intelligence, that contrast doesn't stay theoretical. It becomes undeniable, personal, sometimes devastating. And that's precisely where the real transformation begins. The mask that became a face. Let's talk about the persona, because this is where the tension between intelligence and shadow first becomes visible. Jung defined the persona as the social mask, the face you put on for the world. It's not deception exactly, it's adaptation. But for the INFJ, the persona doesn't stay as a mask. Over time, it fuses to the face. INFJs are extraordinary social adapters. They read a room the way a musician reads sheet music, instantly translating what they perceive into exactly the right response. And with high intelligence sharpening this ability, the INFJ can construct a persona so seamless, so convincing, so perfectly calibrated to every social environment they enter, that it starts to feel like their actual identity. Until they're alone. And in the silence, they realize they have no idea who they are when nobody's watching. That moment of quiet dislocation is the shadow announcing that rent is due. Everything locked away to keep the persona polished is still there. The suppressed edges, the unexpressed desires, the inconvenient truths. Intelligence didn't protect the INFJ from building that pressure. It helped them build it faster, more elaborately, more convincingly. Jung was clear about this. The more polished the persona, the darker the shadow. Every bit of energy that goes into maintaining the mask is energy not going into honest self-examination. The gap grows wider and wider, until something finally cracks it open. Not because you're weak, because you're finally too honest with yourself to keep the walls standing. The shadow functions, what they actually look like. Here's where the theory becomes unmistakably personal. When a highly intelligent INFJ is under enough stress, or when the shadow has been ignored for long enough, something shifts. The person other people thought they knew seems to disappear. What replaces them is disorienting not just to others but to the INFJ themselves. The introverted thinking shadow function is the hidden scalpel. The INFJ who normally leads with warmth and emotional attunement suddenly becomes a cold, surgical critic. Not of others initially, of themselves. The internal monologue turns forensic. Every decision gets dissected. Every past action gets prosecuted. The INFJ who seems so at peace with themselves reveals a rigorous, merciless internal judge who has been keeping score for years. When intelligence fuels this function, that inner critic doesn't just sting. It annihilates. The extrovert sensing shadow function is where things take a completely different turn. This is the function furthest from the INFJ's natural mode, and when it erupts, not emerges. Suddenly there's an impulse to spend recklessly, chase sensory stimulation with an urgency that feels foreign and uncontrollable, make impulsive decisions that bear no resemblance to their usual careful deliberation. The person who lives 90% of their life in abstraction suddenly needs something physical, immediate, and real. They're trying to escape the mind. And the body is the only exit available. Timing tells its own story here. These eruptions rarely strike during calm stretches. They tend to break through right after periods of heavy mental strain, a demanding project finally wrapped, a long stretch of caretaking that's left the INFJ running on empty. The mind, having poured every drop of energy into NI and Fey, throws the shadow's door wide open out of sheer exhaustion. What makes intelligence uniquely brutal in both of these eruptions is the awareness it brings. The INFJ can name exactly what's happening. They can trace it to its psychological root. They can explain it with clinical precision. And they still can't stop it mid-eruption. That gap, between complete understanding and zero control, is one of the most disorienting experiences available to the human psyche. The gift that cuts both ways. Here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. The INFJ's empathy is their most celebrated quality. It's what makes them remarkable friends, counselors, partners, creators. They feel into people in a way that most individuals spend a lifetime trying to develop and never quite reach. But empathy with high intelligence attached to it doesn't stay purely compassionate. It evolves into something more complex, and if you're not watching carefully, something more dangerous. When you understand people at the level an INFJ does, when you can model their emotional architecture with near-algorithmic accuracy, you develop an almost involuntary capacity to engineer outcomes. You know exactly what to say to diffuse someone's anger before they even realize they're angry. You know which half-truth lands softer than the whole truth. You know how to make someone feel deeply seen while keeping your own interior completely protected. Jung named this the golden shadow, the principle that your most hidden and potentially damaging blind spots don't lurk in your weaknesses. They hide inside your greatest strengths turned sideways. The INFJ's empathy, weaponized by intelligence, can become precision-level emotional management dressed up as genuine connection. The honest question, the one that takes real courage to sit with, is this: where does understanding people end and using them begin? The highly intelligent INFJ is extraordinarily good at avoiding that question, because they can always build a justification that sounds almost right. Almost. And almost is how the shadow stays invisible the longest. The silent verdict. You know what a door slam is? The INFJ's famous total withdrawal. One day present, the next day gone, completely with no appeal and no explanation. Most analyses stop at the surface level. Self-protection. Emotional overload. Enough. But Jung would look at the door slam and see something more precise. He'd see shadow eruption, the moment when the conscious INFJ, who has been patient and empathetic and endlessly accommodating, finally loses containment of the suppressed fury, the buried contempt, and the exhausted self that's been screaming quietly behind the persona for years. Here's what intelligence adds, and it changes everything. The INFJ doesn't slam the door impulsively. They've been building the case for months, sometimes years. Their mind has been quietly conducting a trial, cataloging evidence, cross-referencing behavioral patterns, running probability models on whether this person is capable of the change that would make staying worthwhile. By the time the door actually closes, the verdict came in long ago. The other person is just now receiving the sentence. Is that cold? Maybe. Is it entirely fair? Not always. And the INFJ doing honest shadow work has to ask themselves, with the same ruthlessness they'd apply to anything else, whether the court they convened was actually impartial, or whether the outcome was decided before the trial began. That's not a comfortable question, but it's the right one. The doom state, when an eye turns on itself. Push this further and you land somewhere genuinely unsettling. The INFJ's usually reliable pattern recognition can curdle into paranoia and worst-case forecasting. Under enough strain, they become fully convinced disaster is closing in, that everyone secretly resents them, that some hidden dynamic explains every piece of bad luck. And because their intelligence has trained them to trust their own instincts, they struggle to separate real insight from shadow-driven fear. What makes this especially dangerous is how it arrives disguised as clarity rather than confusion. The INFJ doesn't feel frantic in these moments. They feel certain, almost unnervingly calm, as though they've finally spotted the truth everyone else is too naive to see. A less intelligent mind might doubt its own gloomy forecast and move on. A brilliant one builds an entire case file, complete with evidence, timelines, and watertight logic, all pointing toward a conclusion that's really just fear dressed up as insight. Breaking free rarely happens through more thinking. It usually takes an outside voice, genuine rest, or enough distance for the fog to finally clear. Jung's map for becoming whole. Jung called it individuation. The lifelong process of integrating what's unconscious into conscious awareness, of becoming genuinely whole rather than strategically curated. It's not a weekend project. It's not a realization you have once. It's the slow, ongoing, often painful work of turning toward the parts of yourself you've been running from and saying, I see you. I claim you. You're mine too. In the simplest possible terms, individuation means becoming all of who you are, not just the parts that are attractive or admirable, but the whole complicated, contradictory, fully human package. It means stopping the exhausting performance of being only your best qualities and starting the courageous process of owning all of them. For the INFJ, This requires dismantling a persona that has taken decades to build. Owning the anger, the selfishness, the desire for recognition, even in small amounts, can feel like betraying everything they stand for. But Jung's understanding reframes all of that. He wasn't saying integrating the shadow means becoming your shadow. He was saying that when you consciously recognize and accept these parts of yourself, you take back control of them. You stop them from running your life from underground. The anger becomes assertiveness. The self-interest becomes healthy boundaries. The need for recognition becomes confident leadership. The capacity for darkness becomes the capacity for genuine compassion, because you know from the inside, not just in theory, what it means to carry something you're ashamed of. Intelligence, in this context, can be either the greatest ally or the greatest obstacle to individuation. If it's pointed inward with genuine honesty, it becomes the most powerful self-examination tool available to any personality type. If it's used to construct sophisticated explanations for why you're actually fine, why your behavior is justified, why the shadow you can name doesn't really count because you're aware of it, then it becomes the most elegant avoidance mechanism in the psychological arsenal. The INFJ who chooses the honest path doesn't become someone who has conquered their darkness. They become someone who stopped being threatened by it. And that's a different kind of strength. Small steps toward integration. So what does this actually look like day to day? Gifted INFJs benefit enormously from small rituals of presence. Habits that pull them into their bodies and out of their heads. Cooking without multitasking. Walking without headphones. Letting the senses take the lead for once instead of the mind. None of these are grand gestures. They're small acts of rebellion against a lifetime spent in abstraction. Unfiltered journaling becomes a powerful tool, not for intellectual analysis, but simply to let feelings exist on the page without judgment. The raw kind. The kind that admits you knew exactly what you were doing when you pulled away from someone who needed you. That admits your gut feeling about a person was actually old fear wearing intuition's clothes. Follow your reactions, not your actions. The moments of outsized emotion, the disproportionate irritation, the inexplicable sadness, those are shadow signals. Let them sit. Then, when some distance has formed, ask, what unacknowledged part of me is speaking right now? Most importantly, resist the urge to intellectualize the process. Shadow work isn't a puzzle to solve. It's an experience to go through. Your intelligence will want to manage it at a safe distance, to analyze it instead of feeling it. Don't let it. Let yourself actually feel the discomfort, the shame, the grief, the anger. That's where the integration happens. The real gift. Carl Jung left behind a truth that still holds up. The parts of ourselves we refuse to look at don't vanish. They wait patiently for a crack in the armor. For the gifted INFJ, that armor runs thick, built from years of sharp thinking, emotional attunement, and quiet observation. But no armor holds forever, and the shadow always finds its opening. The good news is that this isn't a sentence of hidden torment. It's an invitation. Every uncomfortable urge, every uncharacteristic outburst, every spiral into doom is simply the unconscious mind asking for a seat at the table, not banishment to the basement. When the gifted INFJ finally listens, truly listens, something remarkable shifts. The same sharp mind that once fueled anxiety and isolation becomes the very tool that guides them toward wholeness. The INFJ was never built for a shallow life. The whole architecture of the type, that restless, underground, meaning-seeking intelligence, was built for depth. And depth means going where it's uncomfortable. It means meeting the parts of yourself that don't match the image. It means integrating what's messy, contradictory, and real. Jung wrote it once, and the words have never stopped being true. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. If you're an INFJ with a brilliant mind and a heavy soul, if you've always carried the feeling that there's more going on inside you than you've ever let anyone see, this is your moment. Stop running. Turn around. Look at it. Because the shadow isn't the end of who you are. It's the beginning of who you were always meant to become.